Today I went to Metrosuite and learned all about garden suites. Why? Because recently there have been legislation changes that make these legal in and around Toronto. So you're going to want to know, what is a garden suite? Who can have one? And more importantly, how much do they cost? So listen in while I talk to Jacob Sofer. Hey there, thanks for joining today. Today I'm very excited. I have Jacob Sofer from Metrosuite, the CEO and co-founder of Metrosuite, and he's here to talk to us today about garden suites, which are new to Toronto. So I'm sure you have tons and tons of questions, and Jacob is an authority. So hi, Jacob, how are you?
Hi, good. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So Jacob, tell us a little bit about what Metrosuite does and what garden suites are and how you are helping Torontonians with this new thing that Toronto's offering.
Great question, Sandra. And thank you very much again for having us on. We are an HCRA licensed builder, and we supply and install fully modular or prefab garden suites. So we take care of all of the design work, the building permits, the home itself, and we supply a fully made home in about as little as 4 to 6 months.
Wow. So it's like plug and play. I call you up, I say, I want a garden suite. And you go, okay, let me come over and make sure everything's honky dory with licensing or like permissions. And then in 4 to 6 months, you've taken care of everything.
That's right. So we do take care of the entire project. It's fully turnkey. Our pricing is upfront. It's transparent as well as it being fixed. It's not an estimate. And we provide either a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom. So our clients can choose depending on what their property allows for and what they would like.
And you guys are Terrion approved, yeah?
That's right. We are.
That's amazing. That's really good. That gives people confidence to use you. And how long has Metrosuite been in business or building? Not just garden suites, but in general.
Yeah, no, another great question. So TVM is our parent organization, and TVM is actually my family. It's a family office, so to speak, and it's been around for about 25 years. And so TVM offers condominium buildings, builds and operates apartment buildings as well as commercial space. And so we have a long history of construction and development in the Peterborough, Cobourg, Port Hope area. And so Metrosuite is a subsidiary of TVM, and it's been around for about a year alongside the new bylaws for garden suites that's come out. And so we're able to sort of pull on deep experience and resources from our parent to give confidence to buyers.
Well, that's amazing because, yeah, garden suites were just introduced, what, a year ago?
In Toronto, summer of 2022.
Yeah, so wow, that's pretty quick. And that's great because I know a lot of people want a garden suite. Okay, let's talk about them and compare them to laneway housing because they're completely different qualifiers. Different people can build a garden suite. Some people can't. So let's get a little bit of garden suites 101.
Sure. So laneway suites have been around for about 4 years now in Toronto. And the main difference between a garden and a laneway suite is that a laneway suite is meant for properties that are on laneways. Mm-hmm. And so the housing typology in the downtown Toronto area, a lot of the houses actually have detached garages, and they're actually on these laneways. And so for that program, you're able to knock down your garage and build a home that is directly on the side property lines. And so for a garden suite, this applies to every other home in the city, that whether it's it not being on a laneway. There's some minor differences between the two, but that's really the gist of it.
And do you build laneway housing as well?
So we've narrowed our focus right down to garden suites. So we offer primarily exclusively garden suites now, and we may expand to laneway suites in the future.
So who qualifies for a garden suite on their property? What use can we have?
Yeah, so we really applaud the city of Toronto and a few other cities that have similar bylaws. They've made these bylaws so that they're really easy for a homeowner to apply and become eligible. So there are certain setbacks on the side yard as well as minimum distances, but for the most part, most property owners are eligible for a garden suite, and that's something that we help with to determine.
So can I rent it out?
Yes, you could rent it out, and a lot of folks look to rent it out because of several reasons. One, when you look at a project like this, you're really only paying for construction costs, not for land costs, because you already own the land. Two, in Toronto specifically, development charges are deferred for 20 years and then waived, which is huge. It's about 100,000 off the top.
Wow.
And it's big. And three, these homes are built post November 15, 2018, so they're not subject to annual caps on rental rate increases. So those are three big reasons why investors have been pouring in.
So they're not subject to rent control.
They're not, no.
Okay, so that's news to me because I thought garden suites were only for a family member.
So you're totally right. There's sort of it's a two-pronged answer. There's the investors that are looking for rental opportunities, and then there's a multi-gen component where folks who have elderly parents who don't want to go to long-term care, they'll live nearby, or adult children. So you're absolutely right. There is a multi-gen component.
But I wasn't aware that I could also rent out my garden suite just for rent, like to a stranger.
Yes, you could.
Wow. Okay. There you go. Thank you so much. I just learned something. I was
No
not
problem.
aware of that. And I don't know that the general public is aware of that as well. So there's a lot of talk, and has been for years, in Toronto real estate. One of the biggest problems is the missing middle. So why don't you describe what the missing middle is, and let's see if there's any zoning changes coming to Toronto that might help alleviate this.
Yeah, and you raise a really great point. So just to define the missing middle, it's really this, I go back to housing typology, but it's true. It's this type of home that sits anywhere between a single detached family household and a large, 50-story skyscraper for condo buildings that you're seeing downtown. And so, if you can sort of imagine these low-rise apartments in our neighborhoods and maybe garden or laneway suites, those are missing middle homes. We were very fortunate enough to be invited to the upcoming UFT webinar series on the missing little, as they call it. But they are the universities are among the forefront in academia of pushing new zoning, as well as the city of Toronto. Our understanding is that the next big zoning change that's coming to the city of Toronto are multiplexes. So where you would be allowed, if it passes in its current form, the proposed bylaw, you'd be allowed to buy a single family home, knock it down or renovate as of right, and put up to 4 units. And that's very significant.
Sorry. Continue. You could put up to 4 units.
Yeah, you could put up to 4 units requiring just a building permit if the bylaw passes in its current form.
Okay, so because I think of the missing middle as you say, anything between condominium tower to a single detached, so semi-detached townhouses, that sort of thing. But you said the U of T calls it the missing little. Why the missing little?
I think the missing middle is the correct term. I think that's just the name of their webinar series that's coming up. So you're right, the missing middle. And the missing middle, it's not specific to a certain type of home, but it really, as you mentioned, speaks to the housing options in between that's a 50-story condo building and the single detached home.
Hmm. So, okay, so it's great news that you can actually rent these things out. So somebody's lot qualifies, like with the setbacks and everything else that are required. Are the setbacks similar to building a house? So for example, maybe 4 feet from the lot line or 3 feet if there's no window, that sort of thing?
That's right. Yes, they're
Okay.
very similar.
So somebody's lot qualifies for it and they want you to put in modular housing for a garden suite. Let's talk about, you said exactly what the steps are, but let's talk about the costs, including the incentive that the government has that you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. So our cost structure is fixed and it's transparent from day one. So for the 2-bedroom home, uh, it's called our geranium, excuse me, our sunflower. That's our 2-bedroom home. That's in the $350,000 range. And what that gets you is everything. So all the design work, we apply for a building permit on the client's behalf. We do all of the site work. The home, which comes fully built with appliances on a flatbed truck. And then the craning process of bringing that home over the main home in the air and then onto the foundation. So that's
Wow.
all included, and it's fixed from day one.
Oh, that would be something to see. That would be so exciting. And, the whole neighborhood would be a buzz. So electrical, plumbing, it's just regular plumbing. You tap into the sewer lines and everything, or how does that work?
So the home comes fully finished except for furniture. So flooring, paint on the gypsum, countertops, cabinetry, fully done. And the only thing that's missing is that furniture that we leave to the client. The actual plumbing, the utilities for the garden suite are connected from the main home. So imagine one big trench that's about this big, well, maybe a bit bigger. And it has water, electricity, plumbing, sewage, and cable Wi-Fi. So it would be connected from the main home.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so everything goes through the main house. So there's some sort of like water line, there's intake and output, right? So,
That's right. That's right. And it all comes from the main home.
wow. So how disruptive is it to the backyard of the existing house?
So for traditional construction, it's quite disruptive because you can imagine a construction site that's going on for 12 to 16 months. And that's something that we really pride ourselves on avoiding and reducing dramatically for homeowners. So how it works for us is we actually only require about 3 to 5 weeks pre-delivery for being in the homeowner's backyard and for preparing it for delivery. So it's a really good experience, and it's quite quick and painless.
So are there months throughout the year where you can't do the work?
We operate year round.
Wow, good to know. Good to know. So basically you're bringing the utilities from one place to another, which is what, 20, 30, 40 feet away, and digging, as you said, a trench and then covering it. And is that really the scope of work for as far as ripping up any grass or whatever's existing?
So you're absolutely right. I would just add on top of that, we our homes are permanent; they're permanently affixed. So we do require a foundation, whether it's helical piles or concrete slab, and then any changes that are made to the property, we would put back as we found it, and this would be contractually agreed upon. So we're really good that way, and it's very important to us,
Yeah. And to the homeowner as well.
to the
So
homeowner. Most
it's pretty cool. So I can see this. So I would imagine that the purchaser, the homeowner, is going and maybe picking their finishes that they like for their sunflower suite.
Yes. So we are actually in the process of opening a retail showroom. in the Toronto area that will feature an actual model home.
Cool.
So folks will be able to come by and walk through the kitchen, see the bathroom, the bedroom, living room, and then actually check out the samples and the color options that we provide. So we're very much looking forward to that.
And how many square feet is the 2-bedroom Sunflower Suite?
The 2-bedroom units are about 600 square feet. What's really interesting about the 2-bedroom, at least that we're seeing from feedback, is that folks may elect the 2-bedroom unit, but they may not actually use the second bedroom as a bedroom. It could be a yoga studio or working from home. So there's a lot of flexibility. I would also just add that a garden suite purchase is a long-term investment, and the use cases can change. So for example, in the first 5 years of a garden suite, you may have your children live in it. And then from year 5 to 15, you may have grandparents live in it. And maybe past that, folks who are living in the main home who are looking to retire may actually move into the garden suite and rent out the main home. So there's a lot of flexibility in these homes.
Yeah, to get some income, right? Because living
That's
in
right.
Toronto isn't cheap.
That's right.
You have the stage right now. So what do you want the public to know about garden suites and Metrosuite?
I think there's an important element of education. The garden suite scene, as well as the laneway suite bylaws, are very, very new. They are somewhat complicated. So if you do have any questions about your property, we would encourage you to reach out to our group, and one of our representatives would certainly get back to you and help through that journey.
Other than Toronto, where else can you have garden suites?
So we actually operate throughout Ontario, wherever it's allowed. Currently, similar bylaws are passed in Hamilton, I believe Kitchener, Peterborough, Mississauga is coming this year, Etobicoke, which is in Toronto, Richmond Hill, Vaughan, those are coming as well. So basically in areas in the GTHA, you're either allowed or going to be allowed this year, which it's great.
What is the exterior of these modular homes?
So we use a product called Mabec Can Excel. Our homes are from Quebec. And so this is it's a very industry standard product. It looks like an engineered wood.
Oh.
And it's meant to be in line with the character of your main home.
Okay.
So it's very important for us that the homeowners have an opportunity to match the coloring and spirit of their main home, so that they can have that uniqueness or symbiotic relationship between the two dwellings. And I think that's super, super important.
Well, that's really good to know, because I know a lot of people will be thinking, when they say modular homes, they're thinking of what are they called? Shipping containers, right? I don't want a shipping container in my backyard. So this is aesthetically beautiful.
It is. And modular has, I think, historically a more negative connotation, and we're trailblazing or trying to lead the public to understand that no, modular is no different than stick build. It's actually, in fact, at a much higher quality because it's built in a factory, and we do not sell shipping containers, that's for sure.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's not you
That's
guys.
right.
And how does it affect the value of these properties? What have you seen?
So for laneway suites, which have been around for about 4 years, we've seen in the data that this is actually really interesting. Properties were pre-interest rate rise trading based on income producing potential. So imagine this: you own a property that has a laneway suite, and you put a laneway, you take down the garage and put a laneway suite. And now you list your property folks who are looking at your property, and this was the case, are looking at it from a cap rate perspective.
Mm.
So, you know, what can the main home and the secondary suite generate on an income basis?
Mhm.
It's too early to say for garden suites because they had just passed about 6 to 8 months ago. But our personal opinion is that things will start to veer that way.
So there's no restriction. For example, a person could put in a garden suite and end up renting out the main house and the garden suite to two different people, and there's no problem with that?
That's right.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, Jacob, thank you so much for sharing that. I know I learned something, and I would think that the people watching are also very grateful to you for sharing your time and your wisdom and knowledge with us. Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you, Sandra.
My pleasure.